record. So the recording has started. We will record the meeting and then we will also share this with the participants and then post it on our page so that those that couldn't attend for different reasons, they can access the recording of the video. So today's session is a follow-up of the webinar that we've had on last week on the ISO standard for cosmetic production for the good manufacturing practices of the cosmetic products. And Mr. Jamra will walk us through the preparation of the product identification file, which is a requirement to access the European market. We already had a presentation on the requirements of the markets, namely the European market, the United States market, and the United Emirates market as well. And we've had also a small group presentation for a few companies on the product information file. But today we want really to highlight what are the different steps, what are the information that each company has to gather to prepare this. And all this information will be presented by Mr. Jamra, and as WACOMP, we are ready to accompany you in the preparation of this product information file. We are also trying to work with the clusters that you are all in identifying which are the needs of the cosmetic companies. And one of the highlights that came out through the coaching that has been done these last few months is that there is a high need for traceability and for ensuring that from the ingredients to the market, there is a system that tracks and traces all the steps that you take and all the ingredients that you are using, that they are tested, and therefore that your final processed products can access the international markets. So we are working towards this, and you are all in contact with Na and with Charles for these reasons. And we hope that with this first seminar, we could also put some light and clarify some of the issues that you might be facing or that you have been facing while preparing the product information file. So I don't know, Charles, if you wish to add anything else as introduction. We don't see you, but I guess you are there.
Yes, I'm here. I don't know, for whatever reason, my camera is simply not showing today. Yes, so I think you've said it all. We want to welcome them, and then Fred can kickstart, and I believe that when he's done and we have other things to wrap up, we would add on. So thank you all, the companies that have joined. We welcome you. We hope we have an educative session as usual with Fred. Thank you.
Thank you. Then Fred, you can start. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and good morning to everybody. This is a follow-up to our last webinar, which focused mainly on good manufacturing practice for the cosmetic sector. And during that, at the question time, somebody asked, why were we focusing on quality? And I said, the PIF will highlight issues on the safety. So let's try to put together some few ideas on how to create your own cosmetic product information file. It's a bit, like I say, difficult, but with a clear understanding, you'll be able to put the pieces of information together so that you have a very holistic and comprehensive product certification file, which is a requirement for the European market. I'm sharing my screen, but I don't know what, yes. So let's look at what we want to talk about today. You introduced the subject matter for discussion. Now try to explain what the product information file is all about vis-a-vis the cosmetic regulation of the EC, that is the 1223. I mentioned it several last week, and what should be the key elements of a product information file. And then I'll give you a few guidelines as to uh, draft the information file. So the EU regulation requires that all cosmetic products should have this information file. And like I said, if you don't have an in-house consultant who will help you develop this file, then I think you can rely on Unido Wacom Ghana expert to help you do same. We've already mentioned and we've explained what the good manufacturing practice is all about, which is based on the ISO 22716, and that you should add a declaration of compliance associated with the manufacturing facility. And this should be part and parcel of your product information file. So we've done the first step, which is developing a GMP, which is based on the 22716 standard. Now we are trying to look at the product information file itself. The key elements is to be able to put your products on the European market. We're talking about the key elements of your PIF is to enable you put your product on the European market. So here it is to help you gather information relating to your cosmetic product. And it is a major undertaking that requires a thorough knowledge of this EC regulation 1223. And here is also talking about the physiological implication or the impact of your product. And therefore, you need the expertise to be able to prepare this chart, the file, I should say. So we just want to give you an idea of how this is done. So now let's try to look at what the product information file is. The cosmetic regulation of the European Union says that it's an obligation that every cosmetic product that comes to that market should have this file accompanying the consignment. And it came into force in July 2013. And the responsible person that you know, your agent in the importing country, should have this document. It should be familiar, it should be conversant, so that you'll be able to explain the content of this PIF to retailers and wholesalers of your cosmetic product. The file was described in Article 11 of that regulation, that is the EU Regulation 1223. And that the relevant information of the product should be clearly described and displayed. And it's talking about the identity, the quality, and the safety of the product. So you cannot draft a PIF without trying to explain or identifying your product, saying something about the quality. That's why we said so much about the quality now last webinar. And now we are going to talk about the safety of the product as well. And as I said earlier, this PIF file should be kept by your rep, that is the responsible person for your product in the importing country, at least for 10 years from the date that the last batch of your consignment was shipped to that particular country. So what are the challenges? There are certain challenges associated with this product information file. If my sharing file is misbehaving, if you can assist, it's moving faster than the way I speak. The challenges is that this file needs to change because you are changing your recipe, you are changing your formula. So it changes frequently. And according to the Article 22 of the regulation, the member states are supposed to monitor compliance of the regulation through controls on cosmetic products placed on their market. So if during the inspection, the authorities to find out that you are not complying because your file is not updated, they will apply the necessary sanction. And I don't think as an exporter, you want to go through that kind of experience. So it is therefore very important to properly build and follow the evolution of the product information file, meaning the time that you draft, the time that you implement it, and you follow through in the time that the product is sold out in the imported country, either the retail shop or the wholesale shop. And you are saying that the PIF must be kept and should be made available for inspection by these health authorities at all times. For instance, in France, the health authorities that will do this monitoring and inspection is the National Agency for the Safety of Medicines and Public Health Products. And there is another agency, the General Directorate for Competition, Consumer Affairs, and Fraud Control. So it means that your representative in France should be aware of this monitoring and inspection. So now let's try to look at the content of the product information file. The regulation requires that the cosmetic PIF to consist of 5 parts. And I have a diagram which will come up soon to explain these 5 parts. Now, let's look at the parts. The cosmetic product information file. If we say we are having a cosmetic product information file, it should look like this. The first part should describe the cosmetic product. The first part of the file, the document, should describe the product. And what are you talking about? The description of the cosmetic product. It should give it an identity so that whoever finds it on the shelf should be able to tell that this is the product that you read about in your document. It should also talk about the product safety report. The product safety report. The product safety report is made up of 2 parts, Part A and Part B. The Part A talks about the information on the safety of the product itself. And the Part B should talk about the product safety assessment. The third part of the file talks about the manufacturing method, your process step. And in your GMP, the one that is based on the ISO 22716, describe how the process should be controlled, followed through shipment. So it's talking about good manufacturing practices and the compliant declaration. And last week, I explained how you can do this self-declaration. It is not asking you to have a third-party certification as such, but they said your PIF file should be accompanied by a declaration that your GMP, that's a good manufacturing practice, is based on the ISO standard. And I said, if you've done a very comprehensive internal audit or any form of audit, you can use the result of your audit to claim that you comply with the requirements of the ISO 22716. That is your GMP. And the fourth part should give evidence of the claim effect. If you claim that your cosmetic can do A, B, C, D, there should be evidence to back that claim. The fifth part, we talk about the assessment, which is the animal testing data. This is another challenge that we may have to tackle. So now let's look at the details of the 5 sessions that we've mentioned earlier. There should be the description of the cosmetic product. What do you mean by that? A clear link must be established between the cosmetic product and the product information file. So if you call the product black soap, into brackets, alactasamine, that name should link to the information that we put on that file. The descriptive part of the cosmetic product, for instance, you can say the exact name of the product, just like what I've mentioned. You give it a code, the identification or a formula name, allowing the product to be identified without ambiguity. So those fanciful names, fine, but you should be able to identify it. You should be able to codify it so that you can identify the product on the shelf. All names in local languages, like we said, alactasamina, anagosamina, whatever. If the product is marketed in other countries, the description of the function of the product, if it is not obvious, you have to state it in your product information file. The second part, I said, the product safety report. Product safety report is drawn up in accordance with Schedule 1 of the regulation. That is why I said everybody should be familiar with the EU regulation 1223 or the Schedule 1 of the cosmetic regulation. And this part of the PIF assesses the safety of your product. And I said this part is divided into 2. Part A and Part B. Part A is information on the safety of product. The Part B is intended to collect numerous data necessary for the safety assessment. That is why you should be able to identify the ingredient. You may say confidentiality, fine, but you should be able to describe what it is and its effect on the body. Safety assessment. And the safety assessment is made up of several steps. It contains the quantitative, that is very specific, specify the volume, or the concentration, parts per million, whatever, the volume. And then the qualitative composition of the cosmetic product. So you have the quantitative and qualitative composition. It should also talk about the physical and the chemical characteristics of the product stability. That one is stored at the appropriate or the recommended storage condition. It should be stable. It should not deteriorate. The quality should not change. You should also talk about the microbiological quality. That is why when you send your product for the quality evaluation or the testing, they do the microbiological aspect, the quality, trying to tell you or find out whether it contains any pathogen. The quantity of yeast or mold should be established through the microbiological quality analysis. They should also talk about impurities. Here it could be in traces, very minute quantity. They should talk about the information about the packaging material. I think the last couple of months or so, we spoke about packaging for the cosmetic sector. So it should be able to provide the relevant information about the packaging material. And if you like, the normal or the reasonably foreseeable use, because you want to avoid unintended use of your product. So reasonably foreseeable use of your product. People will want to apply the product for other things. So that is a foreseeable usage. The product safety report will also contain exposure of the product, exposure of the product, exposure to substances, the toxicological profile of the substance. That is why when it goes to the FDA, they do all kinds of tests. The adverse reaction, the ARs, and the serious adverse reaction, the SARS, should all be in the part of your product information file. That is the product safety report. And any other information on the cosmetic product itself. It's your own formulation, so you should have enough information to educate the end user. Now let's look at the part B of the same product safety report. This part talks about the safety assessment. Safety assessment leading to a conclusion on the safety of the product. So it's not just a matter of saying it, but it should be based on the conclusion of your assessment, that you assess the product scientifically. And these are the findings. I'm saying here that the person in charge of the safety assessment should be knowledgeable, should be on top of the products, your cosmetic product, and you should take into account all the information regarding the checks, whether it is complete, whether it is relevant. Assess the risk, and finally concludes on the safety of the product. When you are talking about the risk, you are talking about the inherent hazard, being it chemical, biological, or physical hazards of the product. Here, the report, this part of the report, the assessment report, the conclusion of the safety assessment should be well explained and defined. If there's a need for warning or instruction for use, because the safety assessment says so, it demands that you should say it, put it on your label. And please, any scientific reason why you think a product is safe or is not safe, and therefore there should be some precaution, some measures, some instruction, please, you should declare that as well. The reference of the person in charge of the evaluation should also be known, so that the person can be called upon to clarify issues to the consumer. So the person should be in charge of the evaluation and approval of this part of the safety report. The third part, I said, is the manufacturing method according to good manufacturing practice. That's why we spend time to explain the GMP, good manufacturing practice, based on the ISO standard. The third part of this PIF must contain the method of manufacture of the product, method of manufacture of the cosmetic product, as well as a declaration of compliance to good manufacturing practice. So the second part, I've already given you the answer. How the declaration, you're talking about self-declaration of compliance. In conformity assessment, it is allowed. International best practice, ISO, it is allowed to do self-declaration of compliance. The GMP for the cosmetic products, as set, I've defined this already, but I'm saying this for the benefit of people who are not able to participate in that. It's a set of practices and organizational requirements in which the product must be manufactured. So if they said, describe the method of manufacture, once you have a good GMP in place, you will not have any difficulty in doing that. I said it involved the control of human, the technical, then the administrative functions as well. The ISO standard that we described last week, these guidelines, I said, it's aimed in particular at the compliance of the product hygiene and safety criteria. This declaration of compliance must be found in each PIF of each cosmetic product. What are you saying that? It means that each product that you intend exporting to have its own PIF, and the declaration should be part of the PIF. 4, if you made any claim, there should be evidence of that claim. The PIF must contain supporting information or a short summary of technical data necessary to substantiate the effects or the effect claimed by the cosmetic product that you are putting on the shelf. This concerns any claim for a cosmetic product, whatever the means of the communication or the type of marketing tool used, whatever the target audience, please, you should support any claim, either for consumers, general consumer, professionals, whatever. Then also the choice of the adequate and appropriate way to substantiate a claim rests with what? The responsible person, the RP, meaning the person who is representing the company in the importing country. So you should have a way of substantiating the claim. That is why that person should be knowledgeable, and therefore you should know everything about the product that is marketing on the European market. This will depend on the type of product, the claims, and the context. What is it for? The other time I told you, even the definition of a cosmetic can pose a challenge, and therefore the representative should be able to explain and define your product on the EU market. 5, data relating to animal experiment. Big challenge in here. The product information file must contain data relating to animal testing carried out by the manufacturer or its agent or supplier relating to the safety assessment or the development of the product and its ingredients and raw material. Relating to animal testing, very important. And yet you know that in some countries, using animals to test the efficacy or the performance or the safety of certain products are banned. So you should be aware whether it is allowed or not before you undertake this experiment. If no animal testing has been conducted, I say if no animal testing has been conducted, a statement to this effect may be included in your PIF. Obviously, you should be able to justify why no animal testing was conducted so that you can provide appropriate statement to justify why it was not done, and therefore you stated that in your PIF. If an animal test has been carried out, it is necessary to include in the product information part any piece of information describing it as such. One, the identification of the animal experimentation carried out. Two, identification of the ingredients used. Three, the date of the animal tests. Four, the place of the event, that is where the test was carried out. Five, information on the entities that performed the test. You want to see the competence of the people who carried out the test and any legislative objective of the animal testing and justification of the declared objective. This is why I said it is a bit challenging, but it's doable. Once you want to sell your product on the European market, that is their regulation, and it should be complied with. Now let's look at, I said in some countries, animal experiments are banned, especially in the cosmetic sector. Now, giving you the chronology, September 2004, ban on animal experiments on finished cosmetic products. In March 2009, ban on the ingredients or the combination. And then 2013, there was a definitive ban even in the absence of alternative methods. What are they saying? They're saying you cannot use animal experimentation to justify or to prove that your product is safe. Now let's draw some few conclusions here. I said the PIS is likely to change. Talking about all the 5 components of the PIS. The description of the product, the safety report, the manufacturing method, evidence of claim effect, data relating to animal experiment. All these can change depending on the situation and depending on the regulation in place. Regulation 1223 is updated, if I'm not mistaken, that's what I gather from literature, every 6 months on the average. Meaning if we are changing the regulation, we should go in there and find out what are the new things that has been incorporated or some of the things that have been taken out. Meaning it is possible that some of the information contained in your PI, and here talking about if you have 5 cosmetic products, you have 5 PI, may become obsolete, outdated, and therefore we need to review it, update it, and include all the necessary requirements that the new regulation is talking about, or has defined, or is prescribing the new edition. That the product information file must be continuously updated, continuously updated vis-a-vis the regulation, what is in there, with new scientific data or new regulation requirements. So that is why everybody should be very competent. I've tried to break this thing down, but what I want you to take home is that your product information file is a mandatory requirement according to the regulation 1223. And it should be structured into 5 parts: product description, product safety, manufacturing method, evidence of any claim, and the data relating to animal experimentation. I said, if you are not doing any experiment with animals, please, you have to say that in your PI. With that, I say thank you for your attention. And then we are ready for questions, if any. So, Eve, I'm done.
Excellent. Thank you, Fred. Thank you for the presentation. Charles, are you still there? No, he got disconnected. Yeah, there was an interesting question from Francesca. Francesca, would you like to comment, to discuss with Fred about this?
Hello, Fred and everybody. I'm listening to everything. You've broken it down as simply as you can. I'm just thinking that for us who are not so technical, when we sit down and attempt to put this on paper, we are going to get frustrated. Is there anything like a sample PIF, either a real one or a dummy one, that we can attempt to plug in the figures? Because I know even when you are using a consultant, they'll ask you to provide a lot of the information and then they will finish it up. So if we have something that we could start plugging in the information as we know it before we can talk to somebody technical, that would be very, very useful. Second question. When we are doing FDA certification in Ghana, there's something called the site master file. And it contains a good amount of the information you are asking here.
Correct.
I'm wondering what the biggest difference between the site master file and the PIF is, and whether you can lift information from one into the other. I'm done.
I will invite maybe now and other. But the first one, the sample PI for the dummy one, it is possible for us to, but this assignment, what I've given you just like this, the detail and how it is done. Now is trying to work that out so that the consultant will take you through the nitty-gritty step by step. And once you have this kind of general knowledge, you'll be able to ask the relevant question. But there are samples. I mean, this time it's the technical age, IT age. There are several links that, but whether it will be suitable for your operation, that's why we want to engage a consultant, Wacom consultant, who will help you, coach you through this so that whatever it gives will be relevant to your operation. But there are sample templates, typical templates that you can use, but let's hold on until we get to that bridge. We'll definitely cross it, but you are working on somebody who can help you do this. Is that okay? Or you are in a hurry?
Fantastic. That is fantastic.
Okay. The
That's
second part, the FDA site must have, the food sector also have something. I think it's too, if you like, it contains too much. And therefore, you should be able to tease out some of the relevant things. That is why I gave you this 5-point format. Okay, some of them, just pick them out, lift them, and put it in here, your product information under these subheadings. okay? And please make sure, like the manufacturing process, just be very, very specific. Don't over elaborate it to create confusion. So just pick the salient point and follow your GMP. I said the GMP, the processes are broken down into sectors, small segment phases. Get through that briefly. And because you don't want to tell them everything about, you're talking about the specific, the ingredients, the composition, okay? You can mention, there are codes that if it's color, there are codes for the color, but it should be like, but the FDA one, they want you to be very, very, very detailed because they are coming to cross-check, do the verification on site, whatever information you put on that master file. Here, you are going to submit this to your rep in the importing country. It may not be with you when you're doing the manufacturing, but give that person that information that he can consume, understand, and be able to explain to the inspection or the regulatory agency in the importing country. So you can lift pieces of information from the FDA file into your PIF. But just be very careful what you pick and what you should leave out. In management, I always say that don't make it too bulky. It becomes boring and you contradict yourself because you are writing too much. But provide the necessary information as prescribed by this regulation.
Thank you, Fred. There is another question from Ama Sapor. Ama, would you like to raise this question or should I read it out for you?
The question, you can read it out so that everybody will hear.
The question is, will the product be allowed into the countries that have banned animal testing if it hasn't been done? So I suppose if you don't test your products on animals, is the product allowed to be exported?
It is allowed when you've made that declaration in your PI. I said when you make the declaration, you justify because you said you are producing, let's for instance, you are producing, say, in Ghana, and animal experimentation is not allowed. Okay, so you said that you do not do this animal experimentation because it is banned. That's why I gave you the chronology of some of those. Sometimes even just the ingredient is banned. Okay, for instance, the Ghana standards are the standard that will give you the permissible, substances or chemicals that can be used. Okay, and once you've done that, they will give you reasons why you cannot use that in cosmetics. So you don't have to go and experiment that on an animal to know whether it is harmful or it's not harmful. So depending on where the production is done, if there is any regulation, any law, any LI that says you cannot use these animals for experiment, please say that based on that, you could not do that, and it is clear stated in your PI, because they can come back and check, verify. It's easy to verify whether it is true that animal experimentation has been banned in your country of origin or not. But if you try to conceal it, then they will insist that you should use the animal experiment.
So I have a follow-on question on the not tested on animals.
Please.
I was trying to register my products in South Africa. Correct. And when they requested the labels, they asked me that I had this statement not tested on animals on it. Correct. And they asked me to take it off because it was a claim. So my question is, I know I've not tested on animals. I'm telling you I've not tested on animals. How do I prove to you that I've not tested on animals?
Okay. It should not be on the label. It should be in your PIF. PIF is a document attached, just like when you import any consignment, it comes with some documentation, okay? The consignment comes with document. It shouldn't necessarily be on the label, but it's part of your shipping document. That is a PIF. That's why I said the PIF should send a copy to your rep in South Africa it should keep that PIF for that particular consignment for 10 years. So that they can.
So I want to tell my clients that my product is not tested on animals. Why are they telling me not to put it on the label?
There are label regulations. Okay, like what it said. It says a claim, which is misleading. So if it's on your PIF that because of A, B, C, it is banned, and therefore you cannot put it on your label, you just state that in your PIF. That is why the PIF is very, very important. It's not every piece of information that you can put on your label. Label regulations are also there. So you see, it says it's a claim. How do you justify that it's not a claim?
No, why are they telling me it's a claim? Me, I have my product. I said I've not tested. You are telling me it's a claim. I'm just telling you what I'm not doing.
Regulations actually on your product, because you are not operating in vacuum. Wherever you are selling it, there are laws and regulations that you should comply with before you can have access to that market. Like here in Ghana, I said, whatever product, it can be several languages, but the key language here is English. So if there's no English, they can ban your product from coming into Ghana. But the labeling regulation that they should contain a language that the people can read and understand. So if everything is in Arabic, it's in Chinese, it's in Mandarin, it's in Russian, there's no English. And even those of us who can speak small French, you cannot comprehend fully. So you will not understand what is there. Okay? That should not be allowed. This it contradicts the labeling regulation of the country. Okay. So, madam, that is the rules engaged in commerce. It's always rules. WTO permit that so that everybody will be protected.
I've heard. I'll take it off.
Thank you. Thank you, Fred. Thank you, Francesca. Charles, you might want to jump in.
Yes, I would want to jump in. Good morning, everyone, once again. So just like Fred have said, we still trying to get some expert, a local expert, to help us with this PIF. We know it's something interesting, something that we needed to grow our competitiveness within the cosmetic sector in the country. I guess within the coming weeks, now would update all the key people who are very much interested to be able to build this file, so we'll be able to share with our importers, our reps in various countries, either South Africa, EU, or wherever, so that our products can also end up on the main shelves. We don't want our products to be hiding in small corner shops. We also want to break into the mainline markets. So we will come up to you, and please get in touch with Na, and we'll be able to do that. So Fred and Na are liaising with a couple of experts. We want to sift through and get the right person who would help us, and we'll be able to move into action on that. So that's what I have to say for now. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, my camera is messing up. It's on, but I can't be seen. I can't even see myself. I enjoyed the session with Fred. Thank you.
Fred, there is another question from Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
She's saying a private individual who runs an online beauty shop in the UK purchased some of my products and updated her website with pictures of my products as well. Mm-hmm. Will I be breaking any rules if she goes ahead to market them?
First and foremost, let's look at the UK regulation regarding cosmetics. If you sold your franchise to somebody in the UK and is doing the marketing on your behalf, then the terms of reference should be clearly defined. Have you given that person that authority to display your product? If the answer is yes, then please find out whether there's any regulation regarding that in UK. You are talking about the EC regulation 223. It's all about the European Union. I don't know what, maybe now that maybe UK is trying to leave the union, maybe they'll formulate a different regulation regarding cosmetic, the sale of cosmetic in the UK market. But please, I will encourage you to find out whether you are not breaching any EU regulation or the UK regulation, so that the private individual can sell. And I know even in the UK, the private individuals who are doing this commerce, business like that, they have regulations to guide their operation, especially when it comes to cosmetic. You know, this cosmetic issue is something dicey. Here, if you look at the FDA thing, the way they describe cosmetic, contradicts the definition of cosmetic in US, because they are talking about insect repellent here in Ghana as a cosmetic. In US, it is not a cosmetic, it's an insecticide. So please find out if there are any regulations so that you will not fall foul of the law.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions from the floor?
No, maybe then I would also come in as well to talk about the other aspect apart from the support to the PIF that we're working on. We also want, I think it came up in one of our earlier webinars where the discussion on traceability also came up. So we also working with getting a consultant to help us with also interested companies within the clusters to help build a traceability system, to pilot something for us. And so here again, if we are interested, if you have multiple ingredient suppliers or multiple sources of picking your product, and you really would want to be able to trace their product and build something, I think all would eventually contribute to the development of the PIF. So please, let's also get in touch with NA again. And so it's always good to have a base. If we know the numbers of individual SMEs who are interested, if we are getting an expert to support, then we know the number of persons we have to engage, and then the amount of work that will also have to be done. And so once you give your name now, we'll get in touch with you again. At least we'll need some baseline information from you, and that would help us get the experts in. Again, we would also crave your indulgence. We know, yes, it's a busy season for marketing, but for some of these things, getting them together would also require you to put some things down for us. And so once we ask for this, we say that please, as soon as we ask for the information, help us with the necessary information that we need to be able to go on. And I'll talk about another thing that is not related here again, but please also bear with me. It's about the website we're developing together with AGI. NA is also following up with most of us to send us data, to send us picture, brief profile information. We want to have a cosmetic cluster website, something strong, because individually, we always say if you want to go fast, you go individual, but we want to go far. We want to grow our industry, we want to grow together and make our industries more competitive. NA is asking for information. Please, let's provide this information to NA. The expert is ready, putting the website together, but information flow is so slow, he's not been able to do it. Our target was to have it for December, November ending, so that at least December, people already start visiting these sites, ordering Christmas packages or whatever, and seeing and then linking up, but it's also not happening. So please, let's support NA, and so that we can provide this information as soon as possible. We ask for pictures, quality pictures. We don't want to take pictures with our cameras. When he goes to the website developer, he says the pixels are too low and it can't fit there. So let's get a professional to take pictures, maybe 100 cities, 200 cities. It's for the good of the industry so that your product can be online. So please, let's also get involved. So I've talked about three things: the PIF, the traceability, and also give us your profiles and your pictures. And one basic information we also said was that your products would have to be registered at FDA. We don't want to if your product is not registered, we can't put it online. And so that's also one of the things that we also want to support you to get your products registered so that you can be there. This is going to be the biggest cosmetic website online for people to see what we have in the country, and then I believe we will go far in that. So thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, back to you.
Thank you, Charles. I don't know if there are any further questions from the other participants that have not intervened so far. No, no questions? If you can't talk, you can type it in the chat. Otherwise, we would proceed with closing. Then, Fred, thank you very much for guiding us through this. Please, to all the companies, get in touch with Na for these three aspects that Charles just highlighted. So, of course, the product information file preparation, the traceability and good manufacturing practices, and also the AGI cosmetic platform, so that we can see you online on the platform with your products, and of course also for the FDA registration, which is a pre-requirement. So if there are no further interventions from your side, I would close. And Charles, you might want to say something at the end, or?
No, I think you've said it all. We want to thank them as usual, and then also thank Fred for showing up again and helping us through this process. Na, in the background, thank you, Na, and thank you all for showing up. And we hope that as Christmas, we wish ourselves closer. We'll be meeting before and before, but let's get all these things we need in place so that we can showcase what we need to do within the sector. That's all I would say for now, Ibe.
Yeah, thank you very much to all, and then see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Ibe, you stay on. Fred, you stay on. And now you stay on, please.